Deep breaths, Michigan fans. What a ball game. Michigan gets it done over the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and we've got just the guy to talk about it with. Jimmy King, Michigan legend. What's going on? How are you feeling after
I'm feeling great after that win.
Man.
Good to see you, Brian. It's great to see the Wolverines go to 19-1, pull one out that I think is a testament to their character and the fortitude, because that was a tough win. They were behind most of the game, or the majority of the game, probably like 95% of the game, and they still came out with a win.
Yeah, I mean, this was as big of a lead as 11 for Nebraska. They led for 36 minutes, so right on that 90% range that Michigan was down in, yet they pulled it off. Why do you think they did? How do you think Michigan pulled off this win?
Well, I think one thing that is underrated about Michigan is their defense. They didn't play, really, I would say, outstanding defense for the majority of the game, but in moments when they needed to get stops, they made big defensive plays, grabbed the defensive rebounds, limited their offensive shots, and a second chance points. And I think that's what really gets them over the edge. And also too, at the end of the game, they make big shots. I like when they take their time and they work the ball inside and get layups. Guys cutting to the basket. I think that's their game. I think a lot of times or at least this game, they settled for jump shots, even though they were open. I still think they could have took a dribble or two in to take an easier shot, just to make it easier on themselves, because the shots wasn't falling from outside. But that's what I see most, is that their resilience in order for them to, get easy buckets and stay the course on what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, this team had to stay the course, especially in that first half. I mean, when Nebraska's just shooting lights out from three, the Huskers were 10 for 19 from downtown. We kind of knew that Nebraska would shoot a lot of threes, especially without Rink masked. But for Michigan to be able to endure that, you don't see that very often, where you are within two, giving up 10 threes. But you're not often trailing by two when you shoot 66% from the floor in the first half like Michigan did. But, I mean, it was like a tale of two different games, first half to second half.
Yeah, and they fought hard. Like the majority of the game, they were behind. They got down, I think, like double digits, and they fought back before halftime to make it, to cut it into 2 points, which is a good motivation builder for the team for the second half. And one thing that I've noticed about this team, not just this year but last year, is that the Michigan coaching staff, Dusty May, and the guys, they make great adjustments. They do the things that they need to do in order to eradicate the mistakes that they did in the first half. So I just see them continuing doing what they're doing and growing. That's one thing. It's a long season. The Big Ten is tough. It's hard to win on the road. So you really got to, hold serve at home. So this is a good home win for them. After losing a couple of weeks ago to Wisconsin, was a tough loss, which they could have won that game as well. But, in order to be at the top of the Big Ten, you got to hold serve it on your home court and sneak a couple out on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to play the schedule game this early, and maybe I shouldn't say this early, because Michigan hit its midpoint of Big Ten play. They're 9-1 now in the league. But if Nebraska holds on, Michigan would be 8-2, and with 2 home losses, having to go to East Lansing Friday, still to Purdue, still to Illinois, some tough games. So this one was one that if Michigan's going to win a Big Ten championship, felt like it had to be a victory. A big reason why it was a victory was Morez Johnson Jr., 17 points, 12 rebounds. Here was head coach Dusty May on Rez after one heck of an effort.
He was the one guy that we were able to use as a hub, and he moved the ball. He just was trying to get to the next side of the floor. And because of that, we had them off balance when he was the primary playmaker. So that was really the only thing we could find offensively. And then just defensively, his presence, his physicality. I do think even when we were beat late, we recovered to make plays on the basketball. And then because of our size and length, we were able to cause a few misses at the rim.
So take me through what you saw from Rez, not just tonight, but all season, Matt. I've kind of said that it almost feels like he might be the floor elevator for this team because he can just do so many things that we see easily and that maybe the true basketball geniuses like you see. But what have you seen from Rez tonight and all year?
You hit it right on the head. Coach May obviously knows his players and he understands the dynamic of the team. I agree with you, Brian. It's the same thing. I think he's been doing what he's done tonight all season long. I think he is what people call the X factor for the team's success. I love the way that he plays. He plays hard. He gives a good inside presence, and he mixes it up. And one thing that I do love about this team is their willingness to share the ball, the willingness to be happy when the other players are successful. So if Yaxel's not having one of his phenomenal games, he comes in, Johnson comes in and really, supplements the, what's needed for them to be successful. He's been doing that all year. So like I said, it's like it is kind of early, but we hope that they continue to grow and do those things that we want to see them do consistently.
Mike, on the comments, you're a legend. Jimmy, thanks for all the great memories. And you alluded to, something that I think that your teams had here at Michigan. Some of the greats, Terry's 1989 national championship team had it, that ability to be ready, willing, and able to cherish each other's successes. That's not something that just happens. That's something that has to be cultivated over the course of an entire season, back into the offseason, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it's a development, it's a trust, right? You got to kind of figure out what your lane is. And if you're not, the guy that's, that the offense is flowing through, primarily, how do you supplement the team? Is it rebound? Is it defense? Is it, get into the right spots to be a conduit to keep the offensive moving and keep the flow? Is it stepping up in the right moments defensively or even offensively when you're having offensive lulls? So, that's why I see from these guys, they're confident. I love the enthusiasm. I love how they cheer each other on. And I know they're well coached. I've been to many practices, talked to the coaching staff many times ever since they stepped on campus. So I always feel like Jalen said, like Jalen Rose said, this is our year. I'll still believe that. It's only one loss. These guys are playing phenomenal. I'll look for them to keep growing.
Well, one other area where Michigan made huge improvements on from the Ohio State game to this one was at the free throw line. And when you win by 3, you need absolutely every one of those. Adai Mara, 2 for 4. Michigan as a team, 19 of 23. Mara, 1 of 4 for Michigan in double figures with 10 points and 7 rebounds. He talked about the work that Michigan did leading up to this game at the free throw line during our conversation post-game.
Well, I think our preparation for this game was huge. We know that Nebraska was an elite team. They're going to be like really, really good team. The rest of the season, the end of the season, they got good players. So I would say that we were ready for this game. So our preparation, our practices, our mentality was really good this week.
And I mean, Jimmy, I know every player in basketball is asked about free throws. You go through it, you work on it every single day. It's the nature of it. Dusty and staff, they will put guys through pressure free throws in the flow of practice, and Adai is pretty frequently called upon because he's shooting 46.5% from the free throw line this year. But a huge area of growth because Michigan, they were playing from behind. They had to find it. Mara with a couple of big ones. And how about Trey McKinney, the freshman, 3 for 3 at the line during that big push late?
That's big. That's big. But that's why he's our guy, right? That's why he's the player of the year of Michigan basketball. He earned it, and we expect him to come in and do those type of things. But for him to actually step into that moment and knock him down is big. It's a testament to him and his preparedness and his confidence and stepping in and hitting the free throws and getting that big bucket at the end of the game. But again, like I said, I think this team is built to share the limelight. You know, you got so many guys that step in so many moments. Cadeau hitting some big shots, making big passes, big assists. You know, Johnson, like we were talking about, also doing the same thing, making big baskets, getting big rebounds. Yaxel, you know, hanging in there, even though his shot wasn't falling, not shying away, you know, and trusting his teammates to, you know, to lift them up in these type of moments. So, like I said, I think, you know, we have all the pieces to go deep in the tournament. But like I said, like we've been saying, it's a long Big Ten season, and this is just another notch in the hat, because you got to go to Michigan State Friday and and do it all over again.
I know. And Michigan State, they were in a dogfight, winning in overtime at Rutgers earlier today. We'll get into Michigan State. We'll have Mike Boynton Jr. joining us here shortly. I am curious from your standpoint. So Nebraska doesn't have Braden Frager, a guy who's been out for the last couple of games. He averages 12 a game. But the big surprise was Rink Mast, under the weather, went through some warm-ups. Dusty and Coach Boynton, they raved about Rink Mast, what he brought. When you have a scout, when you're getting ready for a team like Nebraska, where they don't play a ton of guys, their rotation when they're healthy is 8. And somebody like that is a guy who is such a focal point on the scout prep for the last few days of practice, and that player unexpectedly doesn't play. There was the understanding Frager might not go, but for Mast not to go, how difficult is that, right? You just kind of assume, oh, well, it's easier. One of their best players isn't playing, but that changes a lot of how Michigan attacks it, preps for a team like Nebraska, doesn't it?
It does. But, you know, and that's why you hope that you have the players that can make those, you know, type of adjustments on the fly. It can happen in the course of a game. He could have started the game and, you know, gotten sick during the game or gotten injured, you know, God forbid, and had to come out. You still have to make those adjustments. So whether it's during the game or before the game, you know, you have to be mentally prepared, you know, to make those type of adjustments on the fly. I think, you know, also too, you know, even like Coach Hoiberg, you know, not having his player, expecting his player to play, but still getting his players to play up with a shorter rotation that he normally plays, and still, you know, take the number 3 team, you know, to the end like they did on the road. That's a testament to them. But it's really the fortitude of Michigan sticking it out and getting a good win over an undefeated team, giving them their first loss, and they're a top 5 team. So, you know, kudos all the way around for them.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska had 4 starters log at least 35 minutes. Sam Hoiberg and Bryce Sanford each played 39 in this game. And they had a former walk-on in Cale Jacobson, who doesn't play like a walk-on. He was really good, 8 points in 28 minutes. I was talking to the Nebraska radio crew after the game. I don't know if I've gained more respect for a team after a losing effort than how I feel about Nebraska. Obviously, the story is incredible. In a year where Indiana football goes and wins the national championship, Nebraska basketball was the 3rd to last team in the country to suffer its first basketball loss. I mean, this is uncharted territory, but that's a really, really good team. I'll tell you, Terry on the broadcast, we're in commercial breaks. He's going, God, this team's incredible.
Yeah, they're better than you think.
It's
watching them closely, and I was like, yeah, they're much better. Like, they move the ball crisp. Everybody's in the right spot. Their spacing as well. You know, their timing is good. Their back cuts were like on point. That was really killing us early in the game, was, you know, back cuts, cutting to the basket, us losing sight of our man in the flow of the offense. But again, we stuck it out, fixed it, and got the win. But again, a testament to Nebraska and how they really play.
19 turnovers for Michigan in this ball game, 11 in the second half. Any common themes that you saw? It's an area that obviously was a huge storyline all of last season. Hasn't been as much of the case here other than the TCU game in terms of a big number. But 19's a bit concerning. Again, Nebraska, tip your cap. They're feisty. They have the best assist. I think they came in 3rd nationally in assist to turnover ratio. So that's what they do. But how would you characterize what you saw from Michigan giving the basketball up a little bit?
I understand that that's what, Nebraska does defensively, but I think more of it's more self-inflicted. What I see is, we stand sometimes. Our offense gets a little stagnant at times, where I know with guys, I feel like guys see where they want to go with the ball, and so they're just trying to get in their spots. But occasionally when, like, for instance, they were double teaming Yaxel, in the post, guys weren't really cutting and move or getting to spots. They were kind of standing and made passes a little difficult to get out. That's why we were getting turnovers. They were getting hands on balls, deflecting balls, stuff like that. So, I just think that if we, like early in the season, get back to moving, cutting, slashing, getting layups. We were getting layups and dunks like, crazy. And I know teams are trying to take us out of that, but we need to get back to that. I guess be a little bit more patient. Don't take the three, even though it's there, because a lot of times they're giving us that because they want us to take that because they know how dominant we are on the inside and getting layups and getting to the basket.
No doubt. We're with Jimmy King, and it's great to have Michigan assistant Mike Boynton Jr. with us. Coach, thanks for stopping by after a wild one. You've been a part of a lot of basketball games. How would you characterize how you took in all of this tonight?
Well, first of all, it's not very many times you get to, and Jimmy's probably an exception to this, you get to play a top 5 matchup on your home court. And tonight was a great atmosphere. Shout out to our fans. I thought the crowd was tremendous, particularly late on the defensive end when we really needed stops. They gave our guys that extra energy we needed to really clamp down. But, man, it was a hard-fought game. We talked about it in the pregame, Brian. 20-0 would usually have to do service to a team. I mean, they were very deserving of their top 5 ranking. It's a veteran team that puts a lot of pressure on you because they can space the floor so well and they can score from 5 spots. Even the guys that aren't really looking to score, they can pick their spots well enough to make you stay honest with them. Hoiberg and the backup guard. I'm drawing a blank. My mind is so frazzled after scouting these guys for the last half. Sanford and obviously Lawrence, and then Burke being able to be a hub and be a good passer out there. So they put a lot of stress on us. That's a really, really good basketball team. They're going to win a lot of basketball games moving forward.
Jimmy, take it away with a question for Coach Boynton.
Coach, congratulations. Good to see you.
Thank you.
My question is what do you see in the guys, or what do you tell the guys when it looked like their shots just weren't falling tonight? We were getting some good looks. A lot of shots weren't falling. How do you keep those guys focused and on the task of what you need them to do if their shot's not falling, even on the defensive end? Because I still think you guys are great defensively, even though you guys don't get a lot of credit on that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the game as well as anybody. There's going to be games the shots don't fall. Tonight was kind of a tale of 2 halves, to be honest. And it's a good thing we were good enough offensively to just be down 2 because they were elite offensively in the first half. I mean, obviously you account for their spacing, and then, for Lawrence to go on his flurry when you kind of got more of your attention on Sanford. I think that young man's going to play in the NBA for a long time. He's as good of a shooter on the move at size as I've scouted. He's so smart. He knows when you go under a screen to just pop back. He knows if you're trailing to kind of keep going downhill and force you to play against his momentum. And so what you do is, like, you've been there, man. Some days, like we had in the second half, the shots don't fall. You got to kind of have an effort mentality, and trust your work, and then trust your teammates to continue to be able to do the job to make the game easier. That's one of our advantages. Tonight, we needed Merez and Adai to dominate the game, and they did. I mean, those guys dominated the game, and because you have depth, you can absorb a night where you don't shoot the ball great, you don't get great point guard play overall, and you got a guy like Trey McKinney just waiting in the wings. He's been waiting for this moment, And today was his opportunity to step up, and the young fella answered the bell.
Yeah, one of our commenters here, Trey looking better and better. How good will he be in March? And obviously we don't know that question yet. It's a day-to-day process, Coach, but the trust that this team, this staff has in him, we saw it tonight. We saw it with the Dusty May timeout 2.5 minutes into the second half after Ohio State went on a 10-1 run. How have you seen Trey grow this season?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I spent a lot of time with him. Our whole staff has. He's just got such a maturity about him. Obviously, you kind of look around the country and you see all the freshmen that are having these great years. Jimmy was a part of a great freshman class, right? And it's very easy for a guy like him who was in that conversation. He was a McDonald's All-American, just like AJ and Cam and Darius Acuff and Michael Brown. And these guys are all being talked about as, lottery picks. And he's had to wait his turn, so to speak. And so a lot of respect for him and his maturity to be able to understand, this team needs him to wait his turn. And his time is coming. It's obviously, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that he's ready for the moment. But his maturity and not being frustrated when he's not playing 25 minutes a game, or maybe when he's, not in at the end of a game, because he's used to being a guy. In high school, he was always on the court. He always had the ball in his hands. He was always asked to score. It's always easy for him to kind of look around the country at his peers and be like, man, I'm kind of getting screwed over here. And he hasn't done that at all. In fact, he's leaned into the veterans on the team and asked for their guidance. And those guys have done a good job of helping him come along. And the thing that I love most now is those guys are enjoying him having success as well. And that's when you got something special.
And Coach, that's what I was just telling Brian, is that I can see that these guys are happy for each other's success and happy that or willing to help each other grow individually in their play. That's big. And like you mentioned, Coach, like when we came up, we had each other. It was 4 other freshmen that I had to lean on. And we bumped heads initially with the veterans, but then we realized we needed that veteran leadership. And so to hear what you're saying about the veterans embracing them and teaching them and him accepting that is huge, because that's going to pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah, talent is one thing.
And much sooner than later.
Yeah, obviously your talent got you to this place, but there's just some things that experience has to teach you.
Right.
And it's better to learn from other people. We tell guys all the time, it's a great quote from Dusty. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes. Mm-hmm. We're not going to live long enough to make them all ourselves.
Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. That's right. And that's what I'm saying. You got to have somebody that's willing to step in.
Absolutely.
Somebody that's willing to fill that gap and fill that void.
Yep.
So 2 seconds left. Nebraska has the ball. Michigan up 3. You walk up to Dusty, and I think you were the one who initiated the timeout. What'd you see on that first sequence from Nebraska? And Dusty said they changed it on the second. Take us through why he took the timeout and how that final defensive stop ended up working out.
Well, there was a lot of dynamics happening. Obviously, with 10 seconds to go, and we weren't quite in the bonus. We told the guys, hey, let's be really aggressive here off the ball. We can take a foul a lot of times because we don't necessarily foul a lot just by the nature of our defense, because we switch a lot. We only had 4 fouls pretty late into the game. So he said, hey, we don't want to foul on the shot, but on the cut, because we got burned on a couple of cuts to the rim tonight. On the cut, let's be really aggressive, really physical, and if we need to take a foul off the ball, let's take one. We'll have them take the ball out. Also burn some time. But once it gets to a place where they have to shoot, it's a short clock with the new continuation rule in college basketball, because I had to scout, I kind of peeked their alignment. And I said, hey, let's take a timeout here and give our guys some info on what they're trying to get here. Obviously, Price is going to be option number 1 for them. But, because they have, Burkhead had made a 3 and we had a die in the game, we wanted to maybe give ourselves some flexibility with being able to switch off the ball, but then also not fouling once the ball came in bounds, because obviously at that point, the guy's got to go into a shot pretty quick. And I thought Yax did a pretty good job of being disciplined and pulling his hands back. We looked at it late, and I think it would have just been a 2 anyway, where he took the shot from. But again, we were pretty disciplined in that situation and obviously came out on the good side of things.
I love that, Coach. I love that. That's what I'm talking about. You know, I love that tutelage, that intuition, that knowledge to to convey to the players and give them the opportunity to go out there and win. And it's important to have that. I was spoiled. I always thought that I was fortunate to have good coaching young and at the University of Michigan with Steve Fisher and their coaching staff. So I thought I was going to get that throughout my whole career. So, you necessarily don't get that. So, I appreciate, I was telling Brian that earlier that, I think you guys are the best in the country, one of the best in the country when it comes to making adjustments and seeing what's going on the floor and doing what you need to do to pull out a victory.
Yeah, one of the things that was really important to us is, we thought over the course of the game, our pressure and our ability to kind of just make them continue to play fast would benefit us over the 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, obviously, it came down to a one-possession game, but they only made 1 3 in the second half.
Mm-hmm. Your second half D was phenomenal. I mean, guys had 16, 17 points in the first, 18 points in the first half, ended up with 2 or 3, 4 points in the second half. We kept telling our guys that every time out, just stay the course, nobody panic. We learned from our Wisconsin game. They made that run, and I thought we kind of got a little bit spooked, and we started to really change a lot of what we were doing schematically. Where in reality, if we had just stuck with our plan and just been a little bit more relentless about it, maybe we would have come out on the right side. But again, sometimes you got to learn that the hard way. And we certainly learned it in the defeat, and that benefited us tonight in a game that we really, really needed against a really good team. That team, again, is going to win a lot of games. They'll get Rick Mass back. They'll get Braden Frager back. And, obviously I want to win every game in our league. And so, but obviously we certainly think that team's going to go that not winning an NCAA tournament deal is coming to an end this year.
Yeah, they're one of the stories of the country. And you mentioned the second half. They outscored the Gophers on Saturday by 25 after halftime. So for Michigan to beat them by 5 in the second half, impressive. Jimmy, I'll give you any last words you've got for Coach Boynton before we let him go and start getting ready for the Spartans on Friday night.
Well, Coach, you know how it is, Coach. Great win tonight. Great season so far. You got them Spartans coming up Friday, baby.
It's not lost on us.
We got to. Yeah, we got to handle this
as a staff. We obviously feel like we came here to accomplish a lot. We feel fortunate to be a part of this great program, a foundation of which was laid by you and several guys before you. But we know how important this game is on Friday, and we haven't answered that bell yet. And we need to prepare for a couple of days really well. The game on Friday, I can let everybody who's watching, anybody who'll see this know, it'll be a very different game than tonight's game was.
I love that. Good luck, Coach. Good luck, Coach. We root for you always. Go Blue, baby.
Thank you. Go Blue.
Mike, appreciate you, man. Thank you. There is Mike Boynton Jr. Great stuff. I've held you back, Jimmy, long enough. Tell me what it's like to play in this game and to play in East Lansing when you're rocking the maize and blue.
Oh, it's everything. When you dream about playing basketball and beating your rivals and, going into a hostile arena and hushing a crowd or walking out with a victory, this is it. This is the pinnacle. So, that's why I'm saying enjoy tonight's win over a top 5 team at home who's undefeated, but then you got to turn right back around and get your mind right for the Spartans. But I do love what Coach Boynton said about it's going to look different. You're going to see a different ball game or see a different team come Friday, and I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure you learned a few new words that you never learned before up in East Lansing, and had some things said to you and to your teammates. It's a hostile environment.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you expect. That's how it is.
I'll give you an example of how hostile it is, and this happened, and it shook me. I remember going to the free throw line, and I was, preparing to shoot my free throw, and I looked down to bounce the ball, and when I looked down on my shirt, I saw a red dot just going around in a circle like this on my shirt, and obviously, you don't think anybody, made it through with anything serious in the arena, but it gives you pause for the cause, and it rattles you a little bit. So that's the epitome of how, or example of the epitome of how hostile it could be in East Lansing.
I got like goosebumps on that, man. Are you serious? Was that your first game there?
No, it was. I think that was my senior year, actually.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think I made it 4 years. It was my senior year.
Wow. I don't know how much you've watched the Spartans, but any thoughts on the actual matchup? This is a team that rebounds like crazy. They defend like crazy. And it seems like a team that has some of the similarities to the one that won the Big Ten last year.
That's what I was going to say. You words right out of my mouth. I think that it's a very similar team. They're gritty. They like to get out. They love to play in transition, but they're pretty strong. They play well together, and obviously they're well coached. Tom Izzo's been there, impressing his personality on that team. And I never, ever underestimate a Tom Izzo team, especially when they have talent the way they do right now. So going into Lansing, it's going to be a drag them knockout type of fight. And but again, like I've been saying, I think Coach May and the staff, they're able to make adjustments if needed. But going into the game, they're going to be well prepared and well coached.
It'll be a blast. Can't wait for it. 8 o'clock coming up on Friday night, Michigan and Michigan State. What it's all about in college basketball in this great state, one of the best rivalries in all of sports. Jimmy, incredibly thankful for the time you're giving us. Great conversation with Coach Boynton, and we'll talk again here before the end of this season, and hopefully we'll talk after a Michigan win on Friday in East Lansing.
Absolutely. Go Blue. Thank you.
There's Jimmy King. For Jimmy, for Coach Boynton, I'm Brian. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Lots of coverage for you after the Wolverines win over Nebraska.